Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. As promised, let's check in with Ayanda. She is at Gallagher Estate in Midrand for the South African Local Government Association National Conference, which gets underway today. They are celebrating 15 years. They're looking at the progress that they've made over those 15 years, but also looking at ways of enhancing their methods of tackling the challenges that they face. So let's check in with her. Ayanda, who have you got with you?
Good morning to you, Valen. Yes, you're quite right. We are still coming to you live from Midrand as SALGA is officiating this particular expo where stakeholders and service providers have come under one roof to discuss ways of improving service delivery when it comes to local government. Yep, the 15th birthday of local government in South Africa. I'm now joined by the Auditor-General, Kimi Makwetu, as well as the Municipal Demarcation Board Chair, Jane Thupana. Very good morning to you both. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start with you, AG. 15 years of local government. You're fairly new in this position, but what can you say have been perhaps improvements or the lack thereof in the past 15 years?
Thank you very much, Ayanda. And first of all, I think I would like to congratulate SALGA on finishing 15 years of existence, and also take note of the fact that quite a number of their initiatives in municipalities, as reflected in our audit outcomes, are starting to bear fruit, although it is going at a very small pace. We've seen this in a number of municipalities that we visited recently when we were doing some verification work on projects, particularly with clean audits across the whole country. Our observations, as well as what we saw when we inspected these projects, was that local government is working in certain parts of the country, and a great amount of that achievement is largely to do with the effort that SALGA has been putting, but however, it's not enough because the road ahead is still very long.
Service delivery protests, issues with demarcation, they all speak to the fact that some of the municipalities and the way they conduct themselves leave much to be desired. Some of the recommendations that you give when you do your research and you say that X amount of money has been wasted on fruitless or wasteful expenditure, X amount should have been used in ABC, some of the money we're seeing going back to Treasury. Speak to us about what it will take for us to see a drastic difference on the ground in the way in which municipalities run themselves.
Not long ago, since we released our 2012-2013 report, SALGA, among others, embarked on a program to intervene in local government. One of the areas they isolated was a response to one of our recommendations, where we said there is no consequence, no visible consequence across most of these municipalities. In our recent analysis, which we have not yet finalized and published, we are starting to see some shift in that area. So we think that if there's a lot more effort put into the area of consequence, but also if we start putting a lot of effort into giving a little more capacity to municipal public accounts committees, because many of them have just been established, they've not yet gone on the ground to do the physical work of oversight. And I think the two, consequence as well as strengthening the hand of councillors who represent council at municipal public accounts committees, could see us in a different place in the future.
Thank you so much, Jane. Let's bring you into the discussion now and speak of the issue of demarcation. I'm going to use Malamulele as the case study. It is quite topical as we speak. What is the relationship between perhaps a fresh and new municipality and service delivery? Is there a connection?
There's always a connection between municipalities and service delivery. As you would know, and as the public would know, the Municipal Demarcation Board is tasked with a huge responsibility to make sure that we do demarcate municipalities. But the objectives in terms of the Demarcation Act is for us to demarcate entities that will be able to discharge on their constitutional mandate, meaning that as we demarcate, we have to make sure that those entities are having the requisite capacity to be able to discharge, including service delivery to the communities.
Larger municipalities, do they sometimes ignore small pockets of their jurisdictions? Do those areas fall through the cracks perhaps, and then you see people emerging saying, we want our own municipality, we're not being catered for under this particular one?
Size is a very critical matter. Unfortunately, not one of the criteria that are to be considered when demarcating a municipality. But in that regard, we have a responsibility, as we are already preparing towards a symposium where in the 15 years of local government, we have to converge with all key stakeholders like SALGA, like the Department of Local Government, like academic institutions, to come together and look at what best can be looked at and what are the other issues to be considered whenever you look at a municipality, what makes it more functional outside what is prescribed in terms of the criteria. Size is one of those things that we'll be looking at, whether it does have a major impact or not.
What are the current criteria of amalgamating or dividing a municipality?
As already indicated, the objectives are key. Capacity of that entity to be able to discharge on their constitutional mandate. We'll be looking at the question of rationalizing the number of municipalities in the country. That's one of the criteria. We'll be looking at the interconnectivity of people, the commuting patterns, the transport movements, and all those factors that would make settlements more functional and more interconnected. We're having all in all 12 criteria, and 4 of those are about financial viability. So the financial viability is quite important. The tax base, whether those municipalities or their people are able to benefit from the tax base within which they are making contributions.
And of course, there's a lot of money involved when you do either amalgamate municipalities or you do divide them. You have to make sure that those who are coming together, you synchronize the software systems. You have to make sure that the staff is adequately trained and taken care of. It's a huge ripple effect. But when you look at the characteristics of your successful municipalities, what are the striking features that are common to those that do well?
Many of them have attested to the fact that institutionally within the municipality, there is a clear line of responsibility and a clear divide between the role that is played by the political leadership as well as the role that is played by the administrative leadership as led by municipal managers, so that the municipal managers can be given sufficient authority and power by the political heads who oversee them to be able to implement things with the necessary disciplines and systems that are developed in the institution so that they can be held accountable for anything that doesn't work according to plan. That's what has been a characteristic feature of a lot of those that have achieved clean audits. And those that have achieved those clean audits, many of them, have also demonstrated the rigor with which they manage and drive the delivery of projects. I'm sure even the SABC, when it finds time one day towards the end of this term of administration of local government, will find the necessary evidence across the whole country. It's not just limited in one area. So clearly, I think we want to emphasize, and they've emphasized it to us, that when they were still battling with accountability, many of the fights that were taking place in council versus administration were what was preventing them from making progress. But after they crossed that hurdle, and there was a clear line of accountability which says that you shall not get involved in supply chain management issues from a political side of the institution because you've delegated that responsibility to me as the municipal manager. Let me carry it out and hold me accountable if I do not achieve the desired results. That has been the feature, and we think that it's a very strong foundation for any institution in order to elevate the importance of that segregation of functions institutionally. And we think we can go far if that can become an entrenched reality. The other stuff regarding the technical tactics of doing work, which is about how many accountants you have, will work only if it's subjected to an environment that responds to a clear line of separation of duties.
Let me leave you with the last word and speak about the politics now. I'm glad you touched on it on one or two of your sentences. With the local government elections coming up, 2016, just around the corner, there's been a lot of talk on the way in which demarcation is either bringing municipalities together or dividing them, that perhaps it will favor one political party over another. Is there any merit to such discussion?
I would, before I even respond to whether there is merit or not, to just acknowledge that people are right, that demarcation sometimes is about political matters, both political, economic, social. That's because the board is tasked with the responsibility to reverse the injustices of the past that had been created through spatial equipment. Spatial transformation is therefore necessary to make sure that we reverse the spatial logic that had been created by apartheid. Now, coming to whether the demarcation would favor one or another, demarcation is about boundaries. And if boundaries are going to shift resources in a particular manner, it's equal. It could be resources, it could be political power, it could be social, in that some communities might feel like we had been separated from our own who used to be in this part. It's all those will be affected. Whenever you talk about demarcation, you would know that socially, politically, and economically, there will be some shift.
Thank you so very much for your time, and I hope that you and I will be able to share some birthday cake. You know, if there's the birthday, there's a very, very national important matter there. The issue of course, SALGA celebrating 15 years of local government. Those are some of the issues that we were keeping a keen eye on today. Of course, also the electricity issue and how it impacts on local government doing its functions. We do know that Eskom has asked for another increase when it comes to supplying electricity. And that's a topic that needs a whole broadcast in and of itself. How will it impact on the delivery of services in local government? That's one thing that we discussed today. We also spoke about the SAMU, the municipal workers strike there that is under discussion and under negotiation now. 4% has been offered to the workers. The normal discussions to and fro underway when it comes to that. Those are some of the issues that we're discussing today. As I mentioned, a number of stakeholders. You're going to see one or two of them moving here. I see some printers. These are some of the people who supply local government. So those procurement processes, also some things that are up for discussion today as the service providers and the stakeholders are gathered here, this 3-day event to discuss issues of local government. It is time for us to say goodbye. My last guest there, the AG, Kimi Makwetu, and the Municipal Demarcation Board Chair, Jane Thupana. My thanks to them and my thanks to all the guests who have joined us this evening. Let's keep the conversation alive on Twitter at Morning Live SABC. But from us for now, it's goodbye and God bless.